And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Alright, by the time you're seeing this, Eaten by Zombies has had a successful Kickstarter campaign. So this is a kind of pre-release copy that I got a hold of. Basically, it's the same game, but I guess there might be some production differences. But Eaten by Zombie is a deck building game. Oh, shocking! There's so many of them these days. There really is a lot of deck building games. And what that means is, if you don't know what that means, each player has their own deck of cards, and then you will put other cards into your deck. But Eaten by Zombies is a completely different experience because in this game, yes, you build your deck for maybe the first third of the game, and then you are desperately trying not to have your deck destroyed, and the last person who has all their deck is the winner because they have not been eaten by zombies. Does that sound like a fun theme? Well, let's take a look at the components. Each player gets a character in the game: June, Bob, Barney, or Mary. Characters are basically the exact same, except that their cards are different. Each player has a starting deck of 12 cards. 5 heavy sticks, and 5 hide cards, and 2 sandwich cards. So you have these different cards, and you can see the artwork on the cards is gory but 1950s style, but at the same time not totally devoid of humor. And while the cards are functionally identical in each person's deck, you can see how the theme is different. And the Barney card, who happens to be a police officer, well, I wonder what that's a nod to. So that's what you start with. And so you'll take your starting deck and you will shuffle it together. And then you're going to have this deck face down in front of you, and you'll draw 6 cards to start the game with. And that's your opening hand. Now, each card in the game has different signs on it to show what that card can do. And there's 4 different signs on the game. There is the fight symbol, which looks like a stop sign. There is the draw 1 card symbol, which is this yield looking sign. And then down here, the highway sign here, that's the flee symbol. And then some cards later on will have a scavenge symbol, which is in a diamond. And so that's what you have. You start the game. Now, what you will be doing in this game, of course, is fighting zombies. And there is a deck of zombies that comes with the game. Okay? All different sorts of zombies. And each of these zombies has 2 stats here. First, you see how powerful they are up here. And then down here, you basically see how fast they are. So you can see this is a weak zombie, but it can move pretty fast. Although this zombie here is much stronger, but slower. And so you put a certain amount of these zombies into a zombie deck, depending on the number of players playing the game. On a player's turn, they're going to turn up the top zombie and add it to the zombie horde in front of them. Hopefully, there's nobody in front of them. And then players have to look at their hand to decide whether they're going to fight or flee. Now notice, I have to fight at a value of 4, and I have to flee at a value of 2. So look at my hand. Here I have a fight +1. Here I have a flee +1, draw a card. Fight +1, fight +1, flee +1, draw a card. So I can try to flee and draw these cards from the sandwiches, or I can draw cards and hope I have enough fight. But one of the 2 is going to work. So let's say I flee. I play these cards here: 1, 2, 3, flee, and I get to draw a card for each sandwich I play. Oops, I'm drawing from the zombie deck. That's not useful. So I get another flee, hooray, which I play, and another flee. Fantastic. That's 5 flee, which is above and beyond here. So I flee successfully. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to put some decks in the middle of the table, like any normal deck builder. You're always going to play the binoculars, good book, and rifle. Now, I have to say that this artwork here is a bit of an eyesore. The artwork is good, but this yellow ray sunburst, woo! I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. That's kind of bleh. But you always start with these 3. Good book lets you draw 2 cards, rifles, fight +2, and binoculars are flee +2. But you also take a deck of cards, and you'll be using these to randomly pick some other cards that might come in the game. There's Grandpa Shed, but that's my box of ammo, Deadeye, Coffin Nails, a good friend, I saw it first, Satchel, trash bin, up a tree, crowbar, Thompson Tommy typewriter, grandma's pantry, fistful of lead, etc., etc., etc. Guns and such. And so you'll have 2 more decks in the middle of the table per player playing. One of the things I like is that these randomizer or divider cards also contain the errata about each of these cards. So if you're ever confused exactly how a card is supposed to be played, well, you can just look here on the card and it will tell you. I thought that was a neat bin. That way it's not hard to find it in a rule book or anything. And when they add new cards to the deck, you don't have to remember what rule book talks about which card. Good idea. So you can, at the end of fleeing or fighting, if I fight, then I beat the zombie, and each zombie that I kill goes into my deck. If I flee, well, then I just escape the zombies. But either way, whether you fight or you flee, you can use the power of your total number of fight or flee to basically buy cards from the table and add them to your hand. Now, these cards will be gone, but this card will be in my hand. I bought myself a rifle for the value of 4. Different cards have different values. For example, this very awesome hunting rifle, which is fight +2, flee +2, or scavenge +2, cost 6. So I'm scavenging. Your fight and flee will add towards your scavenge only if you're successful, and then the scavenge number will add to that too, which lets you pick up cards from the table and add them to your hand. If you fight and you are unsuccessful, you cannot defeat all the zombies, then the zombies get you, and you will look at the numbers down here of all the zombies left in the horde, and that's how many cards you must discard from your hand. And I mean discard, I mean putting them back in the middle of the table, or discarding them off the top of your deck. If you flee successfully, or you fail to flee, same thing happens. If you flee successfully, you still will lose half the cards of all the zombies that are coming after you from your hand or from the deck. It's like you're dropping things as you're running down the field. So very thematic there. So it's almost always better to fight than flee, but sometimes you just gotta run. Now these zombies, you gotta be careful. If you have too many zombies in your deck and you draw a handful of zombies, then you lose. You've gone insane. Blech. But at the same time, if there's a zombie on the table on your turn, you are allowed to play a zombie as long as the number down here is greater than the number of zombies currently on the table. So you can add to the fun of the next player. And if that wasn't bad enough, when the whole deck has been gone through and we reshuffle the zombies to start up a new deck, then we will be drawing 2 at a time instead of 1, and then 3, then 4, then 5, and then you're dead. So basically, it's the last player alive is the winner. In a 2-player game, that's pretty simple. In a 3- or 4-player game, once you die, you become a zombie. You turn your card over, which lets you play different zombies. You can pick the zombies you're adding to the zombie horde, and it will give you special abilities that you can hurt the other players with. It's a very straightforward game. You got to choose whether to fight or flee before your turn, but after that, you're just trying to stay alive. It is possible to kill all the zombies. I've seen it come close to once, but yeah, I doubt it. You're just going to die. Just be the last one. Now, I've never understood the fascination with zombie movies. I mean, yeah, they're scary, and yeah, 1 or 2. This whole zombie genre, go figure. So be it. Okay, people like zombies. The zombie theme isn't a bad one in the game. I think I actually enjoy it more in a game than I do, movies or books. But in this one, it's a really interesting experience. I've never played anything like this because it's almost like in those cooperative games where things get bad and then they get worse and then they get really bad and then horrifically bad and then, beyond all reason bad. That's how this one works. At first you're like, yeah, picking up some guns, grabbing some satchels, we're doing okay. And then, oh, a zombie, I got him, take him down, another zombie. Why'd you play 2 zombies? That wasn't necessary, but we're doing okay. And oh, I just lost a gun, thanks a lot. Okay, wait, things are getting worse. They just killed the dog, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and then you're out of the game. Love it. Love laughing at other people. So it's a good game. It's certainly not one I'm going to want to play all the time because when I play games, sometimes I like to have a feeling of accomplishment, and that's not going to happen here. You're like, yeah, I'm dead, and I just want to be the last person to die. But it has a lot of good ideas. I think I'm enjoying it best as a 2-player game, although the 3 and 4 isn't bad. And I like how the item cards, there's very few of them, so you can put several in your deck, but you're going to lose them, and it just works thematically. Only thing I don't like about the game is that yellow-red splash nonsense, but the artwork itself is good. The theme seems to work. We made lots of jokes, lots of zombie things, and it's interesting as they just keep coming out, and it's almost everyone's laughing about how bad it is, and it's just getting worse and worse. So I can see this game appealing to a lot of people. It certainly did to those who I played it with.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.